All right, my friends, today is August the 5th. It is Monday, a couple hours into the New York session. Let's do the market outlook and plans for the week ahead. Okay, so we've got a big one today. We're going to ramble about a lot of topics. A little bit of a preface before I get into the material. I did intentionally prune down the topics I'm going to be discussing to really just highlight and emphasize the main things. There's a lot of things that could be said on a day like today, but we're going to try to keep this as succinct as humanly possible. So first thing I want to say is that most of you guys right now need to be focused on getting a mental reset and taking a breath. I imagine that the majority of market participants ate drawdown during this, whether it was complete, catastrophic drawdown or just minor drawdown in your portfolio. You probably lost some money on this. If you lost the kind of money that really hurts and is going to fuck with your mental health, then you need to be focused on getting a mental health reset. So don't try to revenge trade. Go outside, do something that's completely related to markets. Ideally, a physical activity would probably be the best thing, and just get that reset in so that you can come back and trade again. If you're on the other end of the spectrum where you did pretty well with this and you're kind of sitting pretty right now, this is probably the best environment to actively intraday and scalp that you're going to get. Following these large, liquidations and open interest wipe events like this, as big volatility comes through the market, everything gets so much less efficient, which I'm going to discuss in more detail later in the video. But yeah, if you're a competent lower time frame trader and you didn't get hurt recently, you should be trading the fuck out of this right now. If you're interested in gaining access to the spaghetti template and learning how to properly utilize it, you should consider joining the Paragon group. Okay, so next thing that we're going to discuss is the boomer talking points bit. So I'm not going to sit here and LARP and pretend that I'm a macroeconomic specialist, right? It's just not really something that speaks to me as the type of person I am, and I don't really want to fuck with adding extra shit in that's just going to end up creating, inefficiencies and overcomplications in my system. So the reality is that over the past couple of months, we got a lot of new information starting to slowly trickle in that was painting a picture that, legacy markets weren't doing that well. I just straight up ignored the information as I saw it coming in, if I'm being honest, because being like a really stupid bull like that has actually worked really well for me in the past. So yeah, moving forward, I do think that a lot of people are gonna be super focused on whatever little headlines come out around, unemployment and earnings and different shit like that. You guys already know that I separate positional and thesis and validation anyways, which is going to be a talking point in this video. So, for me, it doesn't really matter whether I'm wrong on my thesis or not. So yeah, brace yourself for all the macro LARPing nerds, because that's going to be a huge point for us for the next 2 months, most likely. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the macro conversation. This is super important, right? So first thing that I'm going to go ahead and say is that I don't care about this sell-off that much, right? More or less, did I think that we would sell off this low or anything? Absolutely not. But was I prepared for downside? I was, so I'm not really that bothered by any of this stuff. My higher time frame thesis of us being bullish later on in the year never really had that much to do with levels and stuff, right? Like I told you guys I didn't want to see us lose 60K, and obviously, that ship has sailed. But, my approach for this stuff is much more of a game theory argument rather than the whole levels thing, and I really would urge most of you guys to try to move away from the level stuff anyways. For example, this kind of flow, move that we just got from huge flows, we're getting puked, massive liquidation event on Binance futures, and about 12 hours ago, and everyone draws a little line on their chart and then thinks that the line matters. But when you have all these flows that are just getting forced out of position like that randomly, your level's not going to hold that back, right? They're going to slice right through it, and 99 times out of 100. So the argument around fixed levels for validation, invalidation, whatever, I'm not about it. And as time goes on, I just become, more and more entrenched in that way of thinking. Okay, so Yeah, I mean, I really think that right now, should you buy now that the bounce has already come through? Obviously not. You should probably be, focused on being patient right now. I have an intraday short on Bitcoin that I opened right before I started this video. So I do think that we're probably going to continue to trade down, but eventually this selling is going to subside, and whether the bottom is, in the upper 40s or the bottom could already be in right now and we just build out a range, I'm not going to try to predict that bottom. I am just going to be focused on observing, and I'm every day that goes by, I want to transition to being heavily risk on again. I've been sitting in this hedge for absolute eternity. The contract's going to expire next month anyway, so I'm going to have to make a change no matter what. But yeah, I mean, over the next couple of weeks, especially right now this week, everybody's going to be talking about how the market, the cycle's over, and they're going to be targeting 36K next and things like that. I think the bottom is going to be in a lot sooner than people really expect, and that we're probably going to start to round this out and trade back up just like the other two bottoms played out. I think the main point, though, to pay attention to whenever that, or if that, assuming that occurs, is, where does the next kind of FTA or failure point? If bulls really start to fail and form another lower high, then at that point, we're in deep shit and the thesis is dead. So I really always like to drive home the point about separating, thesis invalidation and risk invalidation. My risk got invalidated, back 2 months ago, or, even longer than that, I guess, from the official point that I hedged, but that's when I really shed a lot of the alts and whatnot. So yeah, that's pretty much it, right? I still think that, Q4 is not that far away, and I'm going to go ahead and just retardedly cling to this thesis. If I'm wrong, the beauty of how I trade is that, I'll probably lose some money if I'm wrong, but it's not going to destroy me because, I haven't even really transitioned to being risk on yet, you know what I mean? All right, so that's pretty much it for the macro, right? The TLDR is that I'm just going to be very stubborn and just not change anything. And the beauty is that it's not going to affect me one way or the other if I'm wrong, right? If I end up being right and I position correctly, then, it's going to be a huge come up. And, realistically over the past, 5+ months, if you didn't really go into drawdown, then you're doing better than most people. Just, look around and observe. Okay. So that's pretty much it, right? Guys probably expect a major update, and there isn't one. As far as medium time frame goes, I got to give I got to give a lot of credit to Doc. Doc actually messaged me when we were over here, and he asked me about what I thought was going to happen with open interest, and he said last time, we got this kind of massive open interest wipe. Well, here we are now. I'm sorry that my charts are kind of ugly, but we got that big wipe that we were kind of looking for. So as far as medium time frame goes, one of the things I want to mention is the anchored VWAP from the start of the trend that from last year. That's a really important VWAP that I want to see reclaimed. That was one that we expected to hold as support, and it nuked through it, which is pretty crazy, to be honest. That was where I expected the bottom for the market to actually be. So we're really looking for the reclaim on this specific anchor VWAP, and then we want to see, fight for a range reclaim. I don't think that you should be too optimistic with betting on higher time frame trades right now. Definitely lower time frame trading is the higher EV in my opinion. But yeah, so as far as median time frame goes, kind of key levels, right? The anchored VWAP, we have a lot of resistance between 58 and 60K. So there's a lot of resistance that bulls need to reclaim through. Like I mentioned, the open interest drop is pretty significant. This definitely is, as painful as this is what we needed most likely for us to be able to actually kind of end up playing out. How I would expect volatility to play out on medium time frame going forward is that volatility should definitely be in a downtrend moving forward. So if we expect that we're gonna, have volatility closer to October, this will probably be low vol chop. I'm hoping that we essentially, build out a range, resolve upwards, reclaim this, right? Reclaim this. If we can get this, reclaim 1, reclaim 2, all of a sudden the structure doesn't look that bad. And yeah, we'll see where we go from here. So TLDR across the board on medium time frame is, I'm not super interested in really trading Bitcoin. If it trades back down to these lows and I see the lows getting defended, then I probably would go ahead and send a swing long. Other than that, I would mostly be observing Bitcoin. Next is going to be around altcoins. So as far as altcoins go, there's basically almost no altcoins that are going to look good. I'm going to show the only ones that do. So on higher time frame, Solana still looks good, right? You definitely want to see it reclaiming its yearly. But again, when you have these kind of just explosive puke flows like this, there's no telling how far price can go down or up if it was a short puke, right? So it really is important that if you guys want to be flow traders, you got to understand that that's one of the arguments why levels are memes, is because if all of a sudden somebody just pukes a huge amount of open interest, none of the levels are going to matter, right? And that's what we've just experienced. So Solana still looks really good to me on higher time frame. TLDR across the board on everything is, we just had a big fuck you event in the markets. You got to determine on your own if you're in a place where you should be trading or not. Don't feel FOMO about catching longs, blah, blah, blah. All the longs that people caught right now, they're probably going to round trip, and it's the lowest probability that we view recovery off this, right? It's much more likely that we go sideways, build out value, start fighting for range reclaims, right? And alternatively, there's always a scenario where we just keep going down, right? So you need to be prepared for both scenarios. I'm looking for the reason to want to go risk on, because that's what my plan has been for, an eternity now. I've been super patient, and I'm just going to keep waiting. Other than that, we've got some good content coming out for education, tools, etc. And my personal focus for trading is going to be an emphasis on scalping right now. So after I'm done with this, I'm going to hit the gym, and then I'm probably going to come back and, assuming tick rates are high, I'm probably going to scalp this afternoon for probably 3 to 5 hours, I would say. So that's it for me this week. I know this was a long video, but there's a lot going on right now. Trust me, I wanted to make this an hour-long video, but I intentionally cut out a lot of the topics. So yeah, good luck out there, and I will talk to you all soon. Cheers.